In the realm of modern astrophysics and geophysics, our planet is traditionally understood as a series of stratified, predictable layers, a crust, a mantle, and a core. For generations, textbook science has taught us that Earth is an inert planetary body, moving through the cold vacuum of space, driven only by the remnant thermal energy of its primordial creation. Yet beneath this illusion of geological silence lies a dynamic, deeply complex world that continues to challenge our most fundamental understandings of physics and planetary evolution. Deep within the absolute center of our planet, thousands of kilometers beneath our feet, a massive churning engine of molten iron and nickel operates under unimaginable atmospheric pressure. This perpetual mechanical movement generates the magnetosphere, an invisible, protective, energetic shield that deflects lethal cosmic radiation and solar winds, making biological life on the surface possible. It is a system we believed we fully understood, measured by sensors globally, until a sudden disruption shattered our scientific complacency forever. In the quiet early hours of a winter morning, an advanced international network of deep space monitoring satellites and geological listening posts recorded a profound anomaly. Instruments designed to detect cosmic rays and upper atmospheric disturbances suddenly registered a massive spike in ultra-low frequency spectrums. It was an energy signature so immense that it briefly overloaded the primary calibration systems across multiple independent research facilities simultaneously, leaving technicians scrambling for an explanation. This specific frequency range, known as ultra-low frequency or ULF, is rarely produced in concentrated bursts by natural planetary mechanisms. What terrified the data analysts wasn't merely the absolute magnitude of the energy spike, but its highly organized structural nature. It exhibited a perfectly clear, repetitive cadence, an artificial pulse that completely contradicted the chaotic, randomized wave patterns typically produced by tectonic shifts, volcanic activity, or standard subterranean pressure releases. At the secure perimeter of the Central Monitoring Station, Dr. Allen, a preeminent authority in planetary geomagnetism and long-range wave mechanics, was urgently recalled to active duty. As he sat before the raw telemetry data, the ambient room faded into a tense, heavy silence. His decades of academic research had prepared him for unpredictable solar cycles and unprecedented seismic events, but the clean, mathematical precision scrolling across his monitors represented an entirely new, unmapped frontier. Dr. Allen began cross-referencing the signal metrics with known historical archives, searching for any documented precedent. He eliminated the possibilities of clandestine military radar tests, commercial communications interference, and rare atmospheric echo effects, one by one. The data remained unyielding. The waveform possessed a complex, layered geometric pattern, heavily implying that the transmission carried encoded information, structured in a manner reminiscent of advanced binary algorithms. Removing his glasses, Dr. Allen rubbed his eyes, staring intently at the glowing screen as cold realization began to set in. The mathematical precision was undeniable, but the sheer physical impossibility of what the coordinates suggested left him in a state of quiet shock. Every scientific law he had taught, every paper he had published, dictated that what he was looking at could not exist under our current paradigm of Earth's history. The heavy laboratory doors slid open, and his primary research assistant stepped into the dim room, her hands visibly trembling as she held the secondary, independent verification reports. She had run the diagnostics through 3 separate supercomputing clusters to isolate any potential software glitches or sensor errors. The look of profound concern on her face told Dr. Allen everything he needed to know before she even handed him the newly printed analytical charts. Pointing to the illuminated monitor, Dr. Allen carefully traced the primary vector lines of the incoming wave pattern for his assistant. He explained the structural layers of the signal, highlighting how the secondary harmonics were perfectly synchronized with the core pulse. This was not the random scream of a dying star, or the crackle of shifting fault lines. It was a deliberate, highly structured broadcast, engineered to cut through thousands of kilometers of dense matter. The assistant listened in stunned silence, looking back and forth between the physical data sheets and the digital simulation looping on the main console. The telemetry was absolute and verified by multiple orbital defense satellites. There was no room left for misinterpretation or wishful thinking. The physical properties of the wave required a transmission source of incomprehensible technological sophistication and nearly limitless power. Then came the final paradigm-shattering revelation that transformed a scientific mystery into a matter of global security. The directional sensors and triangulation algorithms completed their deep sweep, mapping the precise origin point of the broadcast. The signal was not coming from the depths of the cosmos, nor was it a reflection from our ionosphere. The vectors intersected deep within the planet itself, projecting straight outward from the ancient, inaccessible bedrock beneath our feet. Recognizing that this discovery bypassed standard academic channels and bordered on an immediate global crisis, Dr. Allen lifted the encrypted, secure line to contact the highest echelons of national defense. He spoke in measured, precise terms, carefully avoiding speculation, but emphasizing that a localized, intelligently structured energy source was actively manipulating the planet's primary magnetic field from within, threatening global communication infrastructure. Within less than an hour of that classified transmission, the gears of a massive hidden government apparatus began to turn. Out on an isolated, rain-slicked highway at midnight, a convoy of heavily modified, unmarked black SUVs moved at high speed through the darkness. The world slept on, completely unaware that a handful of scientists and security officials had just stumbled upon a reality that threatened to rewrite the history of human civilization. The convoy arrived at the heavily fortified perimeter of a deep underground military command bunker, cut into the solid granite of a secure mountain range. This facility, built to survive thermonuclear war, was now being repurposed to handle an entirely different kind of threat. The air was thick with tension as armed guards and biometric scanners verified the credentials of every individual allowed entry into the emergency briefing zone. Heavy, reinforced steel blast doors groaned open, leading into the lower command levels, where tactical communications networks linked the world's major superpowers in real time. Armed security personnel clad in black tactical gear stood watch at every junction, their expressions grim and unreadable. The atmosphere inside was cold, clinical, and heavy with the realization that the event unfolding was entirely unprecedented in modern history. Dr. Allen and his assistant hurried down the long, dimly lit concrete corridors, escorted by high-ranking intelligence officers. The sound of their footsteps echoed off the reinforced walls, a rapid, rhythmic reminder of the ticking clock they were racing against. In Dr. Allen's hand was a highly encrypted silver drive containing the raw telemetry, the definitive proof that something intelligent was communicating from the dark spaces of the Earth. They entered the primary strategic briefing room, a vast theater dominated by towering digital maps and communications arrays linking global command centers. Around the central table sat high-ranking military generals, intelligence directors, and elite scientific advisors, their faces drawn with fatigue and deep anxiety. The collective gaze of the room turned instantly towards Dr. Allen as he took his place at the center of the briefing floor. A senior general, his uniform adorned with decades of service medals, stood up and cut straight through the murmurs, demanding an immediate, unvarnished scientific assessment of the situation. He wanted to know if this global energy surge was a precursor to a catastrophic geological event, a weaponized technology developed by a foreign adversary, or something far beyond their tactical understanding. Dr. Allen took a deep breath, inserting the secure drive into the central terminal, which instantly projected a massive, glowing blue 3D hologram
holographic model of the planet into the center of the room. He pointed to the structural cross-sections, demonstrating how the low-frequency pulses were actively vibrating through the mantle, bypassing traditional tectonic pathways with surgical precision, as if utilizing an engineered network of subterranean conduits. As the holographic simulation expanded, the final triangulation coordinates locked into place, illuminating a single, highly localized origin point on the polar map. The room went dead silent as the lines converged directly over the massive, frozen continent of Antarctica. It was an area shrouded in permanent ice, isolated from civilization, and now revealed to be the broadcasting antenna for an ancient subterranean power source.
Under a veil of absolute military secrecy, a specialized scientific and tactical expedition was organized and mobilized within 48 hours. A massive, heavy-duty military cargo plane took off into the frozen skies, pushing its engines to the absolute limit as it crossed the treacherous, storm-battered oceans toward the polar south. The crew inside flew in absolute radio silence, entering a white abyss where human life cannot survive without constant technological support. Inside the uninsulated, roaring cargo bay, Dr. Allen and his elite team of geologists and engineers sat surrounded by millions of dollars of advanced seismic diagnostic equipment. They checked and rechecked their specialized thermal gear, their faces reflecting the grim understanding of the physical dangers ahead. They were not heading to Antarctica to study ice shelves or climate shifts. They were hunting an impossibility buried miles beneath the ice. Dr. Allen held a specialized handheld seismic sensor, watching its digital screen carefully calibrate against the fluctuating magnetic fields of the polar region. The device, engineered to detect deep crustal shifts, was already registering erratic microseismic vibrations that did not correspond with traditional glacial movements. The very ground beneath their destination seemed to be humming with a low, constant mechanical resonance. The massive transport aircraft braced against violent sub-zero crosswinds as it descended toward an isolated, wind-swept ice runway. The tires slammed into the frozen ground, kicking up a massive cloud of crystalline ice particles that completely obscured the horizon. The harsh roar of the reverse thrusters signaled their arrival at the absolute edge of the known world, where nature rules with unforgiving, frozen malice. Wide and desolate, the remote research station appeared as a fragile metallic dot in an endless, blinding desert of white ice and snow. Surrounded by towering glaciers and subject to catastrophic katabatic winds, this isolated outpost was completely cut off from external rescue or support. It was here, at the literal bottom of the map, that the definitive answers to the global signal would either be discovered or buried forever. Stepping out into the blinding polar landscape, Dr. Allen and his team were instantly assaulted by freezing, gale-force winds that cut through the air at a deafening volume. They moved with heavy, deliberate steps across the ice shelf, hauling their delicate monitoring equipment toward the precise coordinates designated by the satellite triangulation data, their breath freezing instantly on their visors. Within 24 hours, a massive, heavy-duty industrial drilling rig was erected over the primary coordinates, its steel framework groaning under the immense polar stress. Huge diesel generators roared to life, spewing thick plumes of black exhaust into the pristine, freezing air as they provided the immense electrical power required to operate the deep crust excavation machinery. The diamond-tipped industrial drill bit began its relentless descent, spinning at hypervelocity as it tore into glacial ice that had remained frozen, dark, and entirely undisturbed for over 3 million years. Every centimeter of progress required immense pressure as the drill cut through dense, highly compacted ice layers that held the atmospheric secrets of prehistoric Earth. Deep inside the pressurized control cabin of the rig, Technical engineers sat hunched over digital readouts, monitoring the downward progress of the shaft. The depth meter spun rapidly, passing 2,000 meters, then 5,000, and then 10,000 meters into the deep earth. The structural integrity of the drill string was pushed to its absolute physical limits as it plunged deeper than any standard polar exploration had ever attempted. Suddenly, the entire industrial platform began to vibrate violently, a deep structural shudder that caused the steel support beams to scream under sudden tension. Inside the control cockpit, primary warning lights flashed a stark, vivid red as automated emergency braking systems engaged to stop the drill. The machinery had encountered a sudden, massive drop in physical resistance, indicating they had punctured a void. Outside on the ice field, a violent, high-pressure jet of superheated geothermal vapor erupted from the borehole, shooting high into the freezing sky and creating an eerie, glowing mist. This thermal release was an immediate geological anomaly. The temperature of the vapor was far too high for standard subglacial bedrock, suggesting a massive, active thermal source operating directly beneath the ice sheet. Dr. Allen ran through the blinding mist toward the primary drilling platform, holding a heavy-duty atmospheric scanner out in front of him. The digital display flickered erratically as it analyzed the chemical composition of the venting gas, registering highly unusual trace elements and electromagnetic charges that did not align with natural volcanic or subterranean gas deposits. The scanner screen suddenly locked on a stable reading, displaying a stark, automated text-aleph that sent a chill through the research team. Structure detected below 12,000 meters. The subterranean sensors had sent back a crude radar return, confirming that the drill bit had not hit an underground river or magma pocket, but had broken through into a vast, hollow cavern miles beneath the frozen continent. The drill string had dropped entirely into a massive void, hanging suspended in an open underground cavern miles beneath the frozen continent. The sheer scale of the empty space defied standard geological models. A cavern of this size, existing at such a depth under the immense weight of a miles-thick moving ice sheet, should have collapsed millions of years ago under pure gravitational pressure. Seeking to visually check the impossible void, the engineering team quickly prepared and lowered a heavily reinforced high-tech exploratory drone down into the narrow, dark borehole. Equipped with hypersensitive thermal cameras, multispectral radar, and high-intensity carbon arc searchlights, the robotic probe descended into the pitch-black abyss, acting as the eyes of a deeply unnerved scientific team. Gathered in the cramped, dimly lit primary research tent, the entire expedition team stood in absolute silence, their eyes fixed on the central high-definition monitor displaying the drone's live descending camera feed. The static flickered as the probe descended further away from the surface, dropping deeper into a silent world that had never seen a single ray of human light. The drone's live feed cut through thick clouds of ancient, swirling geothermal mist, and as the arc lights illuminated the cavern walls, the room gasped in collective disbelief. The camera revealed massive vertical stone faces that were perfectly flat, intersecting at precise 90-degree angles. These were not the chaotic, jagged rock formations created by tectonic fractures. These walls were completely smooth and artificially carved. Dr. Allen leaned directly toward the monitor, his face completely illuminated by the stark blue light of the live telemetry feed. He traced the lines on the screen with his finger, analyzing the impossibly clean joints between the massive subterranean stone blocks. The sheer engineering required to cut and place stones of this scale, miles beneath the surface, bypassed anything known to modern industrial architecture.
The descending drone slowly rotated its primary camera array, and as its powerful searchlights swept across the center of the subterranean abyss, it revealed a structure of staggering proportions. A colossal, monumental stone archway stood proudly in the absolute darkness of the subterranean cavern, towering hundreds of feet over the cavern floor, like the entrance to an ancient, long-forgotten empire. Etched deep into the face of the monumental archway were highly complex flowing geometric runes that began to react to the electronic emissions of the approaching drone. A faint residual golden light began to pulse within the carved grooves, moving in perfect synchronization with the exact ultra-low frequency radio signal that had been detected by satellites thousands of miles away.
Realizing that digital telemetry could only reveal so much, Dr. Allen secured himself into a heavy-duty climbing harness and began his slow, dangerous descent down a narrow borehole. Suspended by a single high-tensile steel cable, he lowered himself into the deep, yawning abyss, leaving the modern world behind as he dropped into a silent, subterranean cavern that defied the laws of known history. His boots finally made soft contact with the subterranean floor, stepping out onto a vast, perfectly level plain composed entirely of highly polished black obsidian stone. The smooth, glass-like surface stretched out into the darkness, reflecting the beam of his tactical flashlight like a dark mirror, entirely free of dust, debris, or any signs of geological degradation over time. As the rest of the research team descended and deployed an array of high-powered tactical floodlights, the absolute darkness was forcibly driven back, revealing a breathtaking, monumental sight. Out of the shadows emerged an immense, perfectly preserved complex of towering metallic pyramids and interconnected geometric structures that looked like a hyper-advanced industrial metropolis frozen in time. The wide cinematic layout of the subterranean city left the team completely speechless. Every building, every conduit, and every towering pillar was constructed with a flawless mathematical symmetry that combined primeval monumental architecture with an incredibly sophisticated futuristic design language. It was a site that represented an absolute pinnacle of structural engineering and technological mastery. Dr. Allen walked slowly toward a massive central retaining wall that was covered from base to ceiling in highly intricate, deep engraved astronomical charts and advanced mathematical equations. The glyphs did not match any known human cuneiform or hieroglyphic language. Instead, they utilized precise geometric vectors and star configurations that mapped the night sky as it appeared millions of years ago. He approached a primary decorative panel at the base of the wall, where a prominent, solid golden hexagon emblem sat flush within the dark obsidian stone. Wearing insulated tactical gloves, Dr. Allen gently wiped away a microscopic layer of mineral dust from its surface, noting that the metal was entirely untarnished, showing zero signs of rust, corrosion, or decay despite its extreme age. The absolute moment his hand made physical contact with the golden interface, a vibrant hum of energy rippled outward from the emblem. Neon blue lines of pure light instantly illuminated the stone carvings, racing across the walls like a massive digital circuit board waking up from a long, multi-millennial hibernation, casting a brilliant glow throughout the entire chamber. Nearby, his research assistant swung her flashlight toward the base of a massive stone staircase, illuminating a series of distinct fossilized impressions embedded permanently into the obsidian floor. They were massive, elongated footprints that possessed a clear structural anatomy, but were far too large to have been left by any known human ancestor, confirming that the architects of this city were entirely non-human. At the geometric center of the subterranean city, the team discovered the true source of the planetary anomaly. Suspended inside a massive open amphitheater was a colossal sphere composed entirely of a highly reflective liquid metal. The sphere floated in midair, completely independent of any physical supports, spinning slowly and smoothly on its own axis, in a perfect state of electromagnetic levitation. This floating liquid sphere was the beating heart of the entire facility, pulsing with a deep, crushing bass resonance that vibrated through the very bones of the research team. This was the exact origin point of the global ULF signal. The sphere was actively manipulating the local gravitational and magnetic fields, acting as a massive planetary transmitter. Moving quickly despite his growing sense of awe, Dr. Allen set up a ruggedized data logging terminal near the perimeter of the floating sphere. He deployed a series of specialized electromagnetic induction leads, attempting to intercept and record the raw, unencrypted binary data stream being generated by the spinning mass of liquid metal. The terminal's decryption software immediately went into overdrive, processing the incoming transmission at hyperspeed. The screen quickly filled with complex, auto-generating lines of binary code and shifting geometric models, indicating that the system was successfully interfacing with an incredibly advanced, ancient operating network that was still fully functional. The terminal suddenly projected a massive high-definition 3D holographic simulation into the air above them. The projection displayed a highly detailed model of the solar system as it existed in prehistoric times, showing a massive cataclysmic asteroid tracking on a direct, unavoidable collision course with early planet Earth millions of years ago. The historical simulation shifted, displaying the ancient, advanced inhabitants of this world realizing their surface civilization faced absolute destruction. Rather than attempt a mass evacuation into deep space, they pooled their immense technological resources to construct a vast network of highly reinforced deep Earth sanctuaries designed to preserve their core data and species beneath the mantle. Dr. Allen stared at the projection, realization washing over him. This entire subterranean complex was not a mere city or a military bunker. It was a hyper-advanced planetary time capsule engineered to survive multiple global extinction events and continuously broadcast planetary health and stabilization data to the rest of the solar system. Suddenly, the holographic simulation dissolved, replaced by a stark, flashing red sequence of unknown symbols that the computer instantly translated into a universal mathematical countdown timer. The numbers were ticking down rapidly in precise intervals. 3 minutes, 21 seconds remaining. The introduction of modern human drill tech had inadvertently triggered a safety protocol. Without warning, a violent, high-magnitude earthquake tore through the subterranean cavern, causing massive sections of the ancient stone ceiling to fracture. Huge clouds of dust and debris rained down into the amphitheater as the delicate structural balance of the ancient chamber began to catastrophically fail under intense, localized gravitational shifts. The massive floating liquid sphere began to spin at hypervelocity, its smooth, silver surface turning a deep, warning shade of luminescent dark red. The hum of the transmission transformed into a deafening high-frequency shriek that overloaded their audio equipment and shattered the glass lenses of their primary diagnostic tools. The surrounding metallic pyramids activated all at once, shooting massive concentrated beams of pure white-hot energy straight up into the cavern ceiling toward the borehole. The energy output was staggering, instantly melting the surrounding bedrock and threatening to superheat the entire subglacial environment within minutes. Realizing that they had mere seconds before the entire cavern collapsed into an absolute gravitational and thermal singularity, Dr. Allen screamed at the top of his lungs to his team, gesturing wildly with his arms for them to abandon everything except the primary data logs and flee back toward the extraction lines immediately. The research team scrambled in absolute panic back toward the extraction harnesses as the ground beneath them split open in massive, jagged fissures. The polished obsidian floor buckled violently under the intense tectonic stress, throwing equipment and personnel to the ground as the ancient city began to tear itself apart around them. A colossal stone pillar, which had stood perfectly preserved for millions of years, fractured under a sudden gravitational surge, collapsing forward with a deafening roar. It smashed directly into their primary scientific workstation, crushing hundreds of thousands of dollars of diagnostics into a massive cloud of dust and flying stone fragments. Fighting his way through the blinding dust and violent tremors, Dr. Allen refused to retreat without the evidence. He lunged across the buckling console, physically ripping the primary external hard drive containing the complete digital translation of the ancient database from the terminal, just a fraction of a second before a falling stone slab destroyed the system entirely. One by one, the terrified scientists were hauled up the narrow, claustrophobic borehole at hypervelocity, their emergency harness winches screaming under the strain. Below them, the deep cavern was illuminated by the violent crimson glow of burning energy flares and venting plasma, painting a terrifying picture of an ancient world sealing itself away forever. They burst out onto the frozen surface of Antarctica into the blinding flash of a polar blizzard. Behind them, the massive steel structural framework of the primary drilling rig groaned, twisted, and buckled as the ice shelf beneath it caved inward, completely swallowing the multi-million-dollar excavation operation into a massive, yawning sinkhole. The violent, howling polar storm quickly closed over the remnants of the site, burying the freshly formed sinkhole under tons of fast-moving snow and ice. Within minutes, any physical trace of their presence, any evidence of the borehole, or any access point to the subterranean city miles below was completely erased from the face of the continent. Hours later, Dr. Allen sat in absolute shivering exhaustion inside a temporary military command tent, his body trembling from hypothermia and pure adrenaline. He refused to let go of the black hard drive, holding it tightly against his chest like a priceless artifact, knowing it contained the only surviving proof of a history that would shatter human consensus reality. Suddenly, the roar of approaching jet engines cut through the howling winds as a fleet of unmarked black tactical military helicopters landed directly outside the command compound. Their rotors whipped the snow into a blinding white fury as elite, heavily armed security details moved with surgical efficiency to secure the perimeter of the camp. A group of stern, uncommunicative intelligence agents dressed in heavy civilian tactical gear stepped into the command tent, their faces cold and completely unreadable. They did not ask about the welfare of the scientists or the casualties sustained. They moved with immediate clinical intent toward the primary data storage units. The lead intelligence director stepped directly in front of Dr. Allen, extending his hand in a cold, silent gesture that left no room for negotiation or academic debate. He demanded the immediate, unconditional surrender of the primary hard drive, citing classified emergency security protocols that stripped the scientific team of any legal ownership. Looking up into the cold, unyielding eyes of the federal agent, Dr. Allen felt a profound sense of anger and helplessness wash over him. He looked at his injured, exhausted crew, and then down at the drive in his hands. Slowly, reluctantly, he unclasped his fingers and handed over the ultimate discovery of human history to be buried in the dark vaults of state secrecy. The intelligence detail moved like clockwork, systematically packing every field notebook, personal laptop, video recording, and physical rock sample into high-secure, lead-lined silver cases. Every piece of telemetry data was wiped from the local servers, ensuring that no digital footprint of the discovery remained at the outpost. The entire expedition team was marched under armed guard onto a separate transport aircraft, cut off from any external communications. They were presented with lifetime non-disclosure agreements, backed by the full weight of treason charges, ensuring that whatever they had seen, felt, or discovered beneath the ice would never be spoken of to the public. Weeks later, beneath the brilliant lights of a packed Washington, D.C. press room, an official government spokesperson stepped up to the podium, projecting an aura of complete calm and normalcy. Dozens of mainstream journalists sat before him, their notebooks open, ready to receive the official explanation for the unusual polar military deployments. The official media statement dismissed the entire Antarctica operation as a standard, localized industrial accident. The television screens broadcast a carefully prepared narrative, claiming that a deep-crust commercial drilling venture had inadvertently punctured a pocket of volatile natural gas, resulting in a minor subsurface explosion that forced the immediate closure of the site. Back in his private apartment, far removed from the halls of power, Dr. Allen sat alone in the dim evening light, watching the fabricated news broadcast loop across his television screen. He listened to the clean, polished lies designed to keep humanity in a state of comfortable ignorance, a quiet smile of defiance forming on his tired face. Standing up, he walked to his desk and unlocked a secure, concealed hidden compartment built deep into the heavy mahogany framework. Reaching inside, his fingers brushed against an object he had managed to smuggle out of the subterranean city in the chaotic final moments of their frantic evacuation, completely undetected by the intelligence sweeps. He pulled his hand out into the open air, revealing a small, jagged mineral fragment composed of the mysterious liquid metal alloy from the floating sphere. The object sat in the palm of his hand, entirely defying gravity by maintaining a perfectly fluid, shifting shape, while emitting a soft, beautiful golden luminescence that warmed the dark room. Dr. Allen walked to his window, looking out across the vast city skyline as the rain streaked across the glass. He knew that regardless of how many records were erased, how many archives were classified, or how many scientists were silenced, human history was far older, more complex, and more profound than the world was allowed to believe. For the true seeker of knowledge, the evidence remains out there, buried in the silent, inaccessible spaces of our planet. And as long as that ancient core signal continues to pulse silently beneath our feet, the truth will continue to wait, until the day human consciousness is finally ready to look into the dark and uncover the secrets of its past.